Goodbye Eri was released today, and once again, Tatsuki Fujimoto delivered a one-shot that really makes you feel immersed in a story that is open to many different kinds of interpretations. By the way, for this analysis I might reference Fire Punch and give some small spoilers, so if you haven't read Fire Punch, be sure to read it before watching this video. To begin this analysis, this one-shot must be split into 3 parts, so I'll be able to somehow explain better how I interpret this story, at least from my personal perspective. Then in the end I will give a general conclusion of what the manga is about. This story talks about a student who starts making his own film after he knows that his mother might die because of an illness, and she wants him to film her until her very last moments. Something a bit scary, especially if the main character is just a 12 years old boy called Yuta, and that the mother has a similar hairstyle to Makima of Chainsaw Man. In this panel that I'm showing, what her mother said is that she wanted Yuta to film her because he could have a better way to remember her. One of the things that Fujimoto focused the most during these stories is showing us the importance of movies and how films are able to surpass time and practically immortalize people. This is a message that will be shown many times throughout this first part. After this introduction where we learn why Yuta is filming his mom, we continue seeing a lot of scenes of her daily life. Here we are able to see how Yuta's father is suffering a lot through these very hard situations. Yuta also shares his personal feelings and thoughts as his mom is getting sicker and sicker every day. If you ask me, this really gave me those Fire Punch vibes when Togata was literally describing as himself as he was creating this movie Fire Punch, and what films meant to him in general throughout the whole manga, leading us to a story that probably causes the same effect that occurs in Goodbye Eri, since plenty of the Fire Punch readers felt that probably the manga was a B-movie made by the creativity of Togata, and the manga had so many different approaches that you can just interpret it in your own way. Either Agni died, or Agni was an actor, Agni going to a cinema, Agni is a god, whatever. So it's up to you to know what it means to you. It has a different message for everyone. So back to the one shot when Yuta was outside trying to do something else. We see him just walking around. His dad once again chases him because his mother really wanted him to film every moment of her life, even if she was dying. But Yuta felt unable to face his mother death, so he escapes from the place and he runs away from his dad and the hospital. And as he escapes, he says goodbye to his mom. Then suddenly the building starts exploding. After the explosions, we're in a different place, showing us that Yuta was actually just making a film here and that it was being witnessed by many people. Since Yuta put a lot of effort into this movie, he wants to know how people react about it, but all that he sees is how people is mocking him. They are laughing of his vision, his creativity. He's being horribly judged and people makes fun of him. Even the band that was about to play took their time to criticize the film of Yuta. After receiving all these insults, he's also asked why the hell he had explosions to the end of a movie where he already treated his mother dead as a really horrible joke. And Yuta just said that he used them because it looked awesome. After many panels showing how a lot of people kept criticizing Yuta for his film, we suddenly jump into panels where he's talking to the camera, saying how he pretends to kill himself due to all this situation. He just can't handle things anymore, and if anyone judged his decision, then they probably deserve to die for thinking like that. Yuta shows us how cruel the world can be after all the effort that he did to capture those moments and create a movie that shows us how he witnessed every event that happened. People couldn't understand him since the story was developed to become something sad and tragic probably, but the end had a strange plot twist that wasn't expected for everyone, leading to a lot of criticism that ended up making the director take the decision of killing himself by jumping up from the roof of the hospital where his mom died. The name of Yuta's movie was Death Explosion Mother, and this part finishes when suddenly our main character is interrupted moments before he's about to jump off the roof by a mysterious girl. This marks the end of the first part for me and the end of the first part of the story of Yuta, as he's suffering a lot after he was destroyed by the public that day in the festival. The second part begins when Yuta meets the mysterious girl moments before he's about to attempt suicide. This girl recognizes him due to his film, and after they talk for the first time, she takes him somewhere else, to a place where they could watch movies together all day. The reason of why she did this was to show Yuta ways to improve his stories. She said she liked the first movie, but that to improve and make things that people will like, you need to first watch tons of other movies to get better. When Yuta replies asking her if she liked this film, the girl probably gave us an explanation in general about what this one-shot is planning to do. That although the plot was a bit hard to follow at some point, since it has a different style to the average, plus the random events that happen, it makes the film be able to hide its weaknesses and make you be able enjoyable to read it, to watch it, and have fun while doing so, since it kind of confuses the watcher about what is real and what is fiction. So this kind of puzzle story makes you enjoy the story itself. Something that also works to describe this one-shot, because it's up to an interpretation of the reader about what is a movie and what is happening actually in the manga. And this blurred line between fact and fiction that Eri talks about is what makes this manga become so good and immersive, since you will probably end up over-analyzing it and finding different approaches to the events happening due to this kind of narrative that Fujimoto used. After pointing out this analysis of the film, Eri is honest to Yuta and praises him for his film. She's the first person to ever praise him, and she tells him, "You better keep working hard and next year do your best at this festival." She's encouraging Yuta to keep moving forward. This really reminded me of Look Back, another one-shot of Fujimoto where Fujino, the main character, tried to become better drawing, but she ends up giving up after seeing how other mysterious student was always delivering better quality art, and this made her want to give up. Until one day she meets Kiyomoto, a girl that really admired her art and encourages Fujino to keep working hard to make her dreams come true. There's moments in your life when you really want to give up and find something else to do because you don't find an exit to your problems until you find someone who appreciates what you do, that is able to admire you and all your efforts. Someone like Kiyomoto from Look Back, or also someone like Eri from Goodbye Eri, a person that will tell you, even if you feel that your efforts are in vain, I really appreciate what you're doing. I like what you did with your art, with your movie, I like how you do in your job, and you gotta keep working hard because you're actually very talented and people is just stupid and likes to criticize. After meeting Eri, there's a positive change in Yuta. It is clear to see when Fujimoto used the same shot for both teens. In the first one, Yuta is about to go and commit suicide, and in the second one is after Yuta met Eri and now he's seeing the world in a different way. He feels hope and that life is a beautiful experience that shall not be thrown away. That is why he says, if anyone considers suicide in this moment, please don't throw your life away and keep trying until everything gets better. Life is beautiful, bright and pure. This is especially a very beautiful message to everyone who might be suffering right now or is facing hard times. But let me tell you guys, there's always a solution to your problems. And if there's no solution to them, there's always someone willing to be with you and support you through these hard times. If any of you who are watching this video or ever feel like giving up and there's no solutions to your personal problems, please try to seek help. There's always suicide prevention lines, or at least talk to a close friend, I don't know, your family, your husband, your wife, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your pets. Talk to an object, I don't know, even a stranger. Just don't give up in silence. There's always a way to go through these hard times. So if there's anyone feeling like this, let me tell you once again, you are not alone in this. And if you want to talk, well, be sure to send me a message because I'm on Reddit also, always ready to listen to you guys. So if you're in pain, please try to seek help. There's always someone that really cares about you and wants to help you. Back to the analysis, we see Eri teaching Yuta and giving him homework like to improve his filmmaking. She wants him to make movies like in Hollywood style. We see the daily routine of both of them watching movies. They went to a cinema. Eri explains to Yuta how she feels while watching a movie where she cries because she felt that the story kind of reminded her of her own life. And after all this time spent watching movies, Eri finally says that Yuta that he's ready to create a new plot, and she explained him how plot works inside of movies. So Yuta starts his journey as a writer, and sadly Yuta is struggling a lot writing, and Eri rejects many of the ideas and concepts that Yuta wanted for his second movie until Yuta finally collapses and he wants to give up once again because his scripts were really bad. And he asks once again to Eri, what the hell did you like about my movie? She replies saying that she liked how he ran away from the hospital because the plot prepares you for a touching story, but the fact that his mother really asked a 12-year-old boy to record her own death was so cruel that she understood the explosions because instead of being a really bad joke as people perceive them, Eri says, they are probably a way that you use to release your emotions in the story. The explosion was more of a cathartic release, and this made her enjoy the film and make her want to see more of the film, especially about Yuta as a character because she felt that Yuta and his life was really cool and interesting. So after this, they work in the new plot and Yuta explains to Eri his new ideas, but Eri feels that he's using the same first movie, but Yuta says it's not the same movie, I'm adding a new vision. So in this first movie, he wasn't strong enough to face his mother death, and he ends up creating a crappy movie where people will make fun of him, and this led to him making him try to kill himself until this random vampire girl forces him to watch movies and create a new and better film. So Yuta's pain probably wasn't about being mocked by everyone. He felt bad for running away from the hospital. This is part of the new plot. So now once again they will make this new character, Eri, the vampire girl, become sick, and she will ask him to film her life as his mother did. Both of them will fall in love, and Yuta will be strong enough this time to film Eri dying, and this will make him regain his confidence to make movies once again. This is the final plot for the second movie that appears in the manga, and after this conversation Yuta wants Eri to go and meet his father, because his father said that he wanted to meet her. When she meets Yuta's father, he told her to please stop encouraging my son to do this film. This might hurt him in the future, because his father was also a creator, and he's saying that part of filming is too much. He cares about his son and he doesn't want him to live the same that he did before. And as they talk, we get another small message. Yuta's dad wanted to become an actor of theater, but he gave up because he didn't succeed right away. Constantly, Fujimoto is showing us how people tend to give up quickly after they were not patient enough, or because they hadn't anyone to praise them. That's why in this panel we see Yuta's dad being happy since Eri praised his acting, and it made him remember those old days when he was still a person full of dreams that sadly were lost. Although this scene was act, and it's just a scene for the second movie, but I still like to highlight these messages that we get inside of each panel. Fujimoto is really good at delivering this, that really make you think twice about everything that the characters feel inside the world and how you can relate to them in your own life. And also this kind of storytelling is just what Yuta said about a good story, that just blurs the line between fact or fiction. That is why they talk as if they were not filming, but once again there's a plot twist, and that all that they were saying was scripted and was the plot and part of the movie. So we're constantly questioning what is real and what is not real, thanks to this amazing talent of Fujimoto. As the story of Eri keeps progressing, we see how Eri's sexual condition starts getting worse, and she collapses while she and Yuta are at the beach. So now Eri confesses that she felt identified with Yuta's mom while watching the movie, and that she wants him to film her when she dies so she could keep living inside of the movie forever. So Eri asks him to film her when she dies, and once again Yuta is unable to face the situation and he flees. During this time that Yuta wasn't able to face Eri's situation, and his dad tries to make him go back into his normal schedule, it's in this moment that Yuta once again collapses, and his dad takes the decision to show him what he filmed the day that Yuta's mom died. We get to know this new plot twist that actually Yuta's mother was very cruel with Yuta throughout his life. She called him useless before dying, and throughout the moments that Yuta was filming her, we get to know that this beautiful mother figure actually was very cruel to the main character and was just trying to achieve her own goals without thinking how her son would feel by being forced to do these horrible things, such as filming his own mother dying. His dad explained that they had to do it because she wanted to work in a TV documentary of her battle against an illness, and she was actually a TV producer, but obviously this doesn't justify what they did to Yuta. So as Eri did with the first film, in this time Yuta's dad is the person who is praising the movie, because somehow, even if Yuta's mom was cruel to him, the film made her look like a really good mother. Yuta himself says that even if he was never praised by anything and his mother was cruel, he wanted to have beautiful memories of her. So his father tells him that's what makes films beautiful, is that we have the power to decide how we remember people, and probably Eri before dying wants Yuta to choose how he will remember her and immortalize Eri inside of this new film. After this conversation with his father, Yuta decides to go out again, and he goes to see Eri, and it's here where he finally makes the decision: I will fulfill Eri's dream and I will film her until she dies. After the decision is made and they start preparing the film, we only see panels showing how happy Eri was. We see her smiling. She's shown as a way that she wasn't shown before. Eri appeared so happy and enjoying life throughout every single manga panel from here that we can tell that it's actually the movie that Yuta filmed before she dies. This is how Yuta remembers Eri, as a very beautiful and happy girl who changed his life for the better. After these memories appear in the movie, we get into a final scene where Eri is about to die, and they talk about the film for one last time. One of the last things that Yuta worried about is why she had to be a vampire. And Yuta said that he always liked adding fantasy into everything, so once again he added a bit of fantasy to this story, and that's why she's a vampire. And as they keep talking, we see that they are actually in the movie, and there's a lot of students watching the end of this new movie. And on this case, the public reacts crying after watching this second film. After the film is finished, one of her friends goes to talk to Yuta. She said Eri was over-idealized in the film, but that she felt grateful for the movie because she will be able to always remember her. As she says this, we see more memories that include Yuta's mother from the previous film, and also the last moments of Eri from her own perspective, that are followed by many panels in black. So this represents the end of the second movie and how Yuta was able to regain his will to live. He overcome depression and wants to make movies once again, but the story is not done yet here. Now to finish this analysis, the last part of the one-shot begins with Yuta over-analyzing what happened before. He says although everything went fine, he spent all his time in his room trying to identify what was wrong with the last movie. He really felt deep inside that the film lacked something. He spent so much time working on this, the time kept passing. He became older, he made his life as an adult. He's a grown adult after the time skip, he has a family, but he's still secretly editing Eri's film, trying to find what the film was lacking. As Yuta keeps explaining the story, he says that he was probably having a happy life, then strangely the next panel is completely black. He explains later, talking to the camera, that he was involved in a car accident. All his family died but him, and the experience of living this was like turning a TV off, just as we saw in the previous panels, so it was probably a representation of the accident. And talking to the camera is the only way that he's able to face his problems, and because he feels more comfortable viewing them from an outside perspective. Both situations of Eri and his mother happen through a camera, and it's the only way that Yuta is brave enough to face the events that happened before. But in this case, he wants to give up. Once again, he wants to die. He has nothing more to do in life. He lost everything, so he decides to go and kill himself in a special place. As in the first film, the main character can't stand no more the situation and sadly decides to end his life now. As he's heading into the place where he will commit suicide, we see some flashbacks of his life as he walks into where he will do it. Probably Yuta was talking like this to make his third movie because he remembers what Eri said to him before. If he made a new movie, it should be his own story because he was a very likable character. So this third and last movie was probably planned to end with a tragic suicide of the main character, but once again, as it happened during the first movie, Yuta is interrupted when he's already deciding to finish his life by this same mysterious girl. So once again, there's a plot twist. Eri is alive, Yuta is in shock. She's of the same age than years ago and Yuta doesn't know how to react. So Eri was actually a real vampire, but she wasn't actually dying. Also, she says that the films that end with the death of a love interest are too many and they lack fantasy, so She explains that human brains are like hard drives, so she died to release the old memories, since a human brain couldn't endure so much, so she was reborn days later with a reset in her memories, and instead of getting a letter from her previous self before losing her memories, Eri sent a mail with the film that Yuta did for her. So she says that she was watching the film and it showed her what kind of person the last Eri was, and Yuta remembers how Eri felt before dying, so he was really worried about how the new Eri would feel, since she might feel despair in the future. But this new Eri says, I will be fine because I have this movie. Since the movie is able to immortalize people, Eri won't forget about Yuta and why they live together. She will always see him when she watches the movie. She will remember him. Once again, Fujimoto is showing us that movies can keep moments preserved forever, and is what makes films so beautiful. This last conversation between them marks the end between their relationship between these two characters, and here's when finally Yuta noticed what the film was lacking after so many years. Once again, thanks to the help of Eri. The film lacked fantasy. Yuta was so blinded by the general opinion that he ended up working so hard in delivering something that people will enjoy that he wasn't fulfilling his real goal. He was just adapting his creativity to make other people satisfied, but this wasn't the real Yuta. The real Yuta was just as his father said, a kid that always added a bit of fantasy into his stories, a kid with an incredible imagination that was sadly cut off by a bunch of people who criticized his story that almost led him to commit suicide. This time Yuta, once again thanks to the support of Eri, was able to find what was lacking in the film from years ago, and he did that twice before changing this last part and adding the end that he will enjoy the most. So he exits the building, and here we see his pinch of fantasy, the building exploding as he's finally finishing the movie in the way that he wanted to film it during his whole life. This could be interpreted as the end of a third movie that is like a director's cut of the first and second movie together, with an end full of explosions that he evaded to make the watcher satisfied. But in the end, he overcome all these insecurities and did a film in the way that he wanted to do so, since he was a child. Probably these explosions are a better way to represent his way to get through these hard moments, more than just a sad scene or the end of a love story like on the second part. And it's just Yuta being himself and being more honest to himself while creating the film and finishing the film of his own life. Now that I finished talking about the story in general, let's talk a bit about my final thoughts about this one shot. So probably we're all now in this classic situation where everyone on Reddit is like, hey, this is what the story says. Hey, Yuta is alive. Oh wait, Yuta died. No wait, this is a pre-record and it's Yuta's father talking to Eri in a pre-record. Or that Eri was a real vampire, or that she was just faking everything. I mean, I guess all of those ideas, guys, are okay, since the goal of Fujimoto through the story is to create this puzzle that mixes the story so much to a point that you can't tell what part of the film is part of a story and what part of this manga is part of the film inside the manga. I mean, there are so many mixed panels that it really becomes confusing. I think more than focusing on explaining this plot puzzles that probably might have no real answer and lead to nowhere, since we are all different and have different perspectives, it's better to focus more on the messages that are shown across the manga. To don't give up on your dreams at first, to cherish people around you, your family, your friends, your couple, whoever is there right next to you. Life ain't forever, and the manga shows us how films are able to surpass time and always keep these beautiful memories of the old days that are now gone. In the film, these moments are immortalized and they are literally lifesavers. Even if someone is not here anymore, you can always see them, hear them, or remember them thanks to a photo or a movie. Another crucial point that I considered throughout this manga was how you can be forced to change due to social pressure, but is this really worth it to change because society forces you to do so? I mean, Yuta changes in his second film, he changes the end, just to please the other kids in his school. But he kept the doubt during his whole life until he was a grown adult about why the film lacked something. He couldn't notice this because sadly his essence was almost completely destroyed and changed by a cruel society that over-criticized him, and thanks to Eri, he was able to regain this part of him that makes him become who he is, the original Yuta, this young child that his father describes as a boy with a lot of imagination that always enjoyed adding fantasy to his stories. Yuta literally had to meet Eri once again years later to find the answer that he needed. The second film lacked fantasy, it lacked Yuta himself. That's why the manga ends with these explosions. Eri describes them as a way of Yuta to release his emotions. He's once again describing how emotionally released he feels after finishing the movie and being able to once again stand up after living such an horrible experience. The first time the explosions represent his feelings after his mom dies, and in this time the explosions represent what he felt about the loss of Eri and his whole family. Although I like thinking that since Eri isn't shown like she is actually with glasses as her friend described her, this might be just the pre-record that some fans say, but I prefer to remain in a neutral position, allowing everything to be possible and making this one-shot a never-ending puzzle between fiction and reality that is able to make the reader feel identified with many of the things that happen throughout the story, just as you saw in my own explanation that might differ from the other ones. This is probably one of the best roller coaster of emotions that Fujimoto has to deliver in his career as a mangaka. He's a very unpredictable writer that probably shares a lot of Yuta's vision of filmmaking, since he likes making deep stories with fantasy and plot twists that keep you interested, even if you know that he might do some really uncommon stuff with his stories sometimes. I mean, if you read Chainsaw Man, you will understand me. In the end, the result is so good that you don't really mind about these random things, just as Eri said in the manga. As my personal reaction, the story really made my day. Probably one of my favorite manga so far of Tatsuki Fujimoto. I even ended up sharing an Instagram story being happy to have born in the same time than Fujimoto. I mean, I'm a huge fan of him, even if he has that weird video trying to levitate. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know your personal perspectives about this story in the comment section. And as always, I thank you and see you soon.